Hi, and welcome back. This is another episode of Blood and Bones, and this is your host, Mandy Tang. And for today's episode, we are going to answer a particularly juicy, very juicy question from the I Have a Burning Question series. These are all reader submitted questions, viewer submitted questions, and there's a link to it in the show notes if you want to submit a question of your own. And this is a pretty lengthy question, but I feel really compelled to just read it aloud because I feel like this question really struck me. I feel like I've been here, and if I've been here and this reader has been here, then you have been here as well. And so I really think that there is such universality in the specific. So we are going to dive deep in this episode. Okay, so this comes from Christy in New York, New York, and she's a 34-year-old corporate girly. And here's what she says. Hi, Mandy. I would love to get your advice on how to heal from shame after being fired, how to get unfrozen and start applying for new jobs, and how to not feel screwed believing that no company would want to hire someone who's currently unemployed because of termination. For some background, I've worked in corporate tech marketing for 10 plus years. I've known deep down that my skills and values never aligned with my roles, but continued to stay in the industry. Oh my God. Okay, so I literally got this question like an hour ago and was so excited. Not excited by the drama of it, but excited because I was like, this is going to resonate with so many people. Okay, so I'm just going to circle some things that I want to come back to. More than a year ago, I eagerly started at a new company in a role I quickly realized I was probably unqualified for. I went into the job with confidence. Okay, I'm going to stop you right there. You weren't unqualified. They brainwashed you to think that, okay? Put a pin in that. We'll come back to it. I went into the job with confidence, but I got a new manager after reorg only a few months in. Not to be dramatic. You're not. You're not being dramatic. They're being dramatic. But okay, let's keep going. This woman shattered every bit of professional confidence I ever had. She was the rudest, coldest, unfriendliest, most judgmental, micromanaging, and non-helpful boss I've ever had in my entire career. I'm going to pause here because I want us to think about stories and fairy tales and the idea of the evil stepmother. It's true. Okay? So this isn't just Hansel and Gretel. This isn't just Sleeping Beauty and Cinderella. Like, the reason why there is an evil stepmother archetype is because this shit exists and it's everywhere in corporate America, especially in tech. So don't get it twisted. Like, we go around having great intentions thinking everyone is like nice and kind, and they're not. Like, there are the equivalent of the evil stepmother from the fairy tales in your life, okay? So just hold that thought. Let's keep going. I quickly learned that I could not go to her for help. These bitches are so ice cold. They always make you think that you're crazy for asking for help. And they put all of their cold mother judgmental energy on you. I'm so over it. I hate them. Okay. And I would never get acknowledged for how hard I was trying and how much was on my plate. Right, because she's a cold bitch. Okay. I'm adding in my narrative. Hold on. I'm just going to get my water. I should have had this. I knew I was going to get heated. I knew it was going to get heated. In only a few short months working under her, I became a shell of a human and completely defeated. Yes, because she's an energy vampire and she gets off by making you feel bad. Just FYI. I went from being happy and confident to feeling completely stupid every day. Ugh, I'm so sorry. We ride at dawn, honestly. We ride at dawn. Okay. She would test me with a smug smile on her face. Bitch. Try and catch me in a gotcha scenario and would tell me that I was too senior to not be able to handle the insanely unrealistic workload on my plate. My team was originally 5 people when I was hired, and then I was the only one left to juggle everything. Oh my gosh. Okay, so when companies do this, okay, also I'm just gonna like tell you facts right now. When a company goes through like, basically they lay people off and then you're the only one left standing, you are the only one left standing because you are the most capable. So they're like, okay, how can we cut costs? Who is someone who can take on an unbelievable, unbearable amount of work and who's not going to complain because they have people-pleasing tendencies? Who is that person? Who is it? Who is it? And they like find you and they're like, oh, it's you. It's you. Okay. So the fact that you were the only one after the team went from 5 people to 1 person, basically, this is like, obviously I wasn't there. I don't know the quality of your work, right? But that's all the proof I need to be like, clearly you're a star, because they're not going to do that. They're not going to try to like cut corners and then give that work to someone who's like useless. They saw you as a workhorse and they're like, oh, we could just give it to Christy and she won't complain. Yeah. Okay. Let's keep going. In the beginning, when I still had confidence in myself from the 10 plus years of success before this job, I genuinely thought it was bizarre how someone could have zero emotional intelligence and still succeed. But after months, so what happened was you had a disconnect. So you knew, you were like, what the hell? Like this woman is such a bad manager. How is she my boss? How does she have power? So there was a part of you that recognized the situation for what it was. Okay, we're going to come back to that part of you because that part of you is the one who's going to get you out of this mess. Okay, I genuinely thought, but after months of enduring 60 hours a week alone in my apartment, working from home under this boss, I feel that statement. I became a nervous wreck every day being told I'm not meeting her expectations. Nobody could meet her expectations, by the way. She probably was really hot and really cold. Maybe she had like 1 or 2 favorites, people who like maybe knew how to kiss her ass very specifically. But people like this are loners, okay? People like this are very, very good at managing up and kissing butts above them. Terrible at managing a team. She probably made every single person on that team miserable, but who even knows, because everyone was let go except for you. Okay. I started to believe that the problem is me, that I'm incompetent. Okay. Because when we go into these work structures, these are very authoritarian hierarchies. And so it recalls our feeling of being children. We're kids, and then there are our parents, then there are the adults, and the adults are the only ones who have the answers. Like, we can't go anywhere, we can't do anything without the adults, approval. And so when you, like later on, I think you say that you started to feel like a child. This is because there's a very intense authority dynamic happening here, okay? Which then you internalize to think, well, it must be me because I am raising my hand being like, how is this person even in a position of power? Nobody seems to care. Nobody seems to be doing anything. So then what is it? Am I the problem? Is it me? Okay, it's not you, I promise. Looking back, I should have been job hunting all the time. No, you shouldn't have. I'm going to stop you right there. No, you shouldn't have. Sorry, it's like full-blown conversation with the air. But you should not have been job hunting because you were surviving. I'm sorry. How are you going to be like dodging bombs every day and then also job hunting? No, okay? I'm going to put a stop to that lie because that's not true. It took 120% of your energy to just survive. So let's just call it what it is. But I was so emotionally exhausted and depressed just living in survival mode. Exactly. You were. Okay. I stopped being social, and became overall unwell from this job. As I approached my 10-month mark at the company, I was officially fired. I hadn't been on a PIP, and I knew that if I really wanted to, I could refute to HR all of the incredibly unfair and untruthful reasons my boss was listing off as the reasons for my termination. Okay, so like highly unprofessional environment. They're just going around firing people with no notice, not putting them on a PIP. She's just a terror. But at that point, I was so exhausted and actually somewhat relieved. Yes, because I'm sure your nervous system was just like, at its wit's end and about to freaking collapse, and realized it wasn't even worth it. Yeah, because what do you do, fight? No, you're just like, no, just let me go. Like, otherwise, like, this whole thing is going to just absolutely crush me. Okay. Before we get even to the next part, I just want to pause. I'm really pretending like I'm just having a conversation with you, okay? I need you to recognize that, like, actually you are a survivor of this situation. And most people, I think, okay, the fact that you dealt with this, hold on, let me do the timeline. So a few months in, so you got there, then a couple months later, you got a new boss, which was this monster. Okay, so let's say that you were under this boss for 6 months. Most people wouldn't even last 1 month. Okay, so the fact that you lasted 6 months, like, I can hear your rational side. I can hear your strength, even as the way you write this. Also, you're funny. Like, I could just tell, like, you're just a funny person because the way you write, like, there is actually a sense of humor in this. I think we're also going to rely on that as one of the tools to, like, rebuild. Okay, I wanted to pause and give you credit for how far you've come, because it's a lot. Okay, fast forward to now being October 2024. I've been unemployed for 5 months and it has been incredibly healing. I loved reading that part. I stopped having nightmares about my boss. I fixed my sleep issues and high blood pressure that was caused by the job, and I immediately stopped having any kind of physical stress flare-ups. I feel like a new person. Okay, pause. That's because you were no longer subjected to the abuse. You were removed from the abusive situation. Okay, so that's why all of the symptoms stopped. The immediate physical symptoms stopped because your body, probably during that entire 6 to 7 months that you were tenured under this boss, your body probably was like crying out every day, being like, help me, help me, help me, get me out of here, get me out of here. And there was a part of you, and I can start to hear this sort of, I don't know if the word is authority part, or the like, be a good girl, be a strong girl part of you that was like, no, Christy, you can do this. You know, that was like telling you to just like toughen it out. All right. So already internally, what was happening is that you were having a battle. So your inside was like, oh my God, we're dying. And your outside was like, put on a brave face, go to work. Like, you're not stupid, you know? So that's like burnout, right? Because the inside and outside wasn't matching. So, okay, let's keep going. But I know I'm avoiding the most critical next step, job hunting. Okay. I'm so ashamed to confess that I haven't applied for any jobs in all these months. Pretty sure I'm going to run out of money, so I know I'll eventually bite the bullet and start. But the shame I feel from being fired is debilitating. My family, partner, and friends all think I've been applying and interviewing all this time. The truth is, first off, I'm so touched that you're like sharing this. The truth is, I'm terrified to start for 2 reasons. 1, I don't want to face that moment where an application asks if I've ever been terminated from a job, or the moment where an interviewer looks at my 5-month gap and asks why I'm not working right now. I know I can't lie and say I got laid off because HR can confirm this kind of info. 2, after my last role, I feel incredibly incompetent and terrified to fall into that position again. I feel like once you get to a senior level, all bosses, especially female, are cold and cutthroat. I can confirm this is true. I don't know if I can handle that again. I'm frozen. Okay. I feel like you've definitely been in therapy, or you definitely are like very, very self-aware, because the fact that you were just able to lay all of that out and be like, I am paralyzed. However, I have a deep and nuanced understanding of where this paralysis arises from. And I know like the specific reasons and rationale for why I'm acting the way I'm acting. Okay. So you have a very clear understanding of yourself. You're very actually grounded, even though this is a debilitating experience. You have a very strong sense of self. Okay. In addition to these 2 reasons, I'm struggling with shame in general from being fired. They should be ashamed of themselves. Okay. Like, one of the practices that I believe in strongly is like things that belong to you and things that don't belong to you. Okay, this shame is not yours. You tried as hard as you could. You worked your butt off. You were at one point legitimately doing the jobs of 5 people. They should be ashamed. They should be shamed. And by the way, if we were able to just be a little fly on the wall in this hot mess of an office that I'm sure it's gotten worse since you left, because who's doing anything? I'm sure this boss is just continuing to like terrorize everybody. Okay? Like if what you experienced was a -10 on the scale, I'm sure it's like a -40 by now. Okay? And I truly question the leadership of people who would see this kind of behavior, or at least like suspect, like, oh, we think maybe this manager isn't so great. There seems to be a lot of either turnover or firings or big clashes. Okay? This is a cultural issue. This shame does not belong to you. They have projected it onto you, and because you're a nice person, you were like, oh my gosh, okay, I'll take it. But like, it's not actually yours. Like, don't pick it up. It's not yours. It doesn't belong to you. It has nothing to do. Let me tell you something. Let me be perfectly honest with you. Okay, because I have a marketing background as well. I used to work in digital marketing, and I also used to work in account management. I feel like we have similar backgrounds. I swear to God, okay? I think that if I had been in that position, I'd be in the exact same place as you. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how smart you are, how cunning you are, how strong you are. I would also be reduced to tears, feeling crushed, feel like nobody is immune to this. Okay, what I'm trying to say in like the most loving way is like, it actually has nothing to do with you. They are abusive. They will abuse anyone. You just happen to be there. This wasn't even a boss that you chose. You know what I mean? You didn't like interview with her and then like get lured in by some false charisma. It's just bullshit. Like, she just got plopped in with you, and you were like her latest victim. I mean, not to be like totally gross, but you know, like serial killers and like people who do like SA and stuff. It's like, you know, it's just a pattern of behavior. You were just at the wrong place at the wrong time. I swear to God, if it had been me, the roles could have been reversed, and I could have been calling into your career radio show in the exact same position. So the shame is not yours. It does not belong to you. Okay, let me keep going. In addition to these two reasons, and like, this is so, I'm going to read this paragraph, you guys. Anyone who's listening, you're going to see what I mean by like, this person is so funny. And I know that it's not meant to be funny, but there is a deep funniness to this next section. I'm struggling with shame in general of being fired. I still avoid the neighborhood my old office is in. I'll only leave the apartment wearing sunglasses and a baseball cap on. Not kidding. And only go to places when I know I won't run into any old coworkers who know I was fired, or worse, my old boss. I mean, it's funny because, I don't know, I can just tell you're like a nice person, and the fact that you would be driven to like this kind of behavior where you're literally like, don't look at me. My worst nightmare is to like run into anyone from my old office, my old work. It has consumed you. Okay. And to add to all of that, I don't even want to be in this industry anymore. And I'm in the process of trying to figure that out. Okay. Mandy, I need a pep talk. Girl, I'm trying. I'm here. I feel like when most people lose their jobs, they immediately start job hunting. Not true. Okay. All right. I'm going to just put the kibosh on this right effing now. That is a lie. Okay, and I can actually say that with a lot of authority as a job career coach. Worked with hundreds of clients, and you know, I'm going to tell you something. Most people who get laid off, fired, etc., they go into hiding. They go into exile. Even people who've been, let's say, furloughed, or in the best scenario where it's like, oh, my entire department got laid off, it's totally not personal, right? Everybody takes a break. I'm not making this up. Why would I lie? Like, everybody takes a break. For people who are, and let's paint this in a positive light. For the people who are like, oh, you have 3 months severance and you get to go with the, you know, beauty of basically like, saying that it was like the best possible scenario. Okay. Even for those kinds of people, they're still shattered. They're still burned out. And those people usually just travel. But what I think that is it's a detox. They go on a spiritual detox. And so when we move down the scale and we move into your situation where, to be honest, you were fired with no notice, although I'm sure you had an inkling that shit was messed up, okay? Or that she didn't like you because she made it very clear, right? You basically needed to retreat. You had to, okay? So this behavior of being like, I'm actually not going to jump into looking for a job the next day, the next week, the next month is so normal. I have to tell you that actually when people go through a traumatic event and they jump back into the job search too quickly, I'm always like, yo, slow down. I'm always like, you need to take a freaking second and breathe because you are not processing what just happened to you. And then you're going to go into the next job and you're going to be like, why does everything feel so familiar? Because it's the same shit, different company. Okay. Okay, so then she goes on to say, clearly I have no discipline considering I still haven't made any movement, which makes me spiral even more, thinking I'll fail at whatever my next job will be. Okay. We need to create space for your healing. Right now, you are very hurt and you are looking to get through this by being strong. And I don't think you need to be strong. I think you need to be open. And I think you need to be more heart-led and less critical of yourself. Being critical of yourself feels good because you're kind of like, maybe if I identify all of my weaknesses, then I can issue spot and then I can correct everything and then I can be perfect. I mean, speaking from experience, right? It's not that you didn't have discipline, Kirsty. You were actually the opposite. You are an extremely disciplined person. I think, and I'm going to bring this back to the beginning of your note here, you didn't even want to be in this industry anyway. So you're fighting an uphill battle. You're fighting an uphill to the uphill to the uphill. You didn't even want to do it. You took the job. You already felt underqualified because of, I don't know, some weird social messaging. Okay. Then you had the bad luck of being with an emotional terror of a boss. Your confidence got shot. So there wasn't even a stable foundation to begin with. Okay, so what I'm going to say is I think that you want to get back to basics. You want to think about, you have to be really honest with yourself and be like, why didn't I want to be in this industry? And you can go ahead and say it. Nobody is going to care, or, you could just tell the truth. And the truth might sound like, because I don't care about tech. Or the truth might sound like, because it's boring, or, fill in the blank, but just say the truth. Say the truth. And I also think that all of the emotions that you feel, the shame, the fear, the exile, the unsureness, like, I actually think that it's good for you to fully feel it, but then you have to do the final step, which is to release it. And you might, if you're a visual person, you might even think about it as a tangible thing. So like, okay, take a specific thought. Take a thought where it's like, I will never recover from this. Okay, just take that as a thought. Imagine it's like spelled out in words above your brain, okay, with sparkly words. I'll never recover from this. I want you to take that and visualize that entity like it's a little ball of energy. Visualize that going somewhere. Like maybe it goes to the dump. Okay. Maybe it goes to the landfill and then it gets recycled and turned into just like harmless white light, or maybe it goes into the ocean of sorrows. And then you get to like wave bye-bye to it. Like you have felt these feelings of shame and disappointment and sadness. Really it's sadness too, because you are aware that like you were dealt a bad hand and that there was very little you could do. And you felt all of this, and it's time to let that go. It's time to feel it, but then release it. Because we need to make space for new feelings. And I think that ultimately you'll want to be vulnerable with someone you feel safe with. I don't know who that is. Maybe it is your partner. Maybe it is one friend who maybe you don't have to defend yourself to, who like knows your situation and knows how miserable you were. You know, I mean, it's a huge step to be vulnerable here in this space and to use your story as an example to help uplift others. I swear, I already know there's like dozens of people who are going to be like, holy crap, I've been going through the same exact thing, you know? But I think part of what you want to make space for is you want to make space for the new feelings of creativity, of optimism. Like you're already such a bad bitch. You're so smart. You're so funny. I could just feel it. I feel like you're a cool ass chick, you know? And I think that if people who were close to you really knew the extent of your hurt and the extent of how lost you feel, because maybe like there have to be people in your life who are just like, okay, here's, my brain just skipped a couple steps, but let me tell you what I just thought, which is, you'd think that the people around her, she's so caring, she's so funny, you'd think that the people around her would pick up on it, but here's what I think you're doing. Maybe you're masking. Maybe you're pretending to be okay. Maybe you're like, oh, it's fine, I applied to this job, I just haven't heard yet. Oh, I did have an interview. Yeah, I talked. Like, maybe you're just covering for yourself. And look, you don't need to do a grand reveal and be like, guys, I've been lying to you this whole time. Oh my God, I'm a fraud. Like, just forgive yourself. Okay, you told a white lie, you can move on. But I think that there might be one, maybe two people that you can open up to and be like, okay, actually, I want to tell you, I've been a little more upset and a little more depressed than maybe I've let on. I think you need to let some people help you through emotionally, and just that you can lean on during this really difficult time. Okay. All my peers are thriving in their director level corporate roles. No, they're not. No, they're not. I'm going to tell you right now. Everyone I talk to at the director level role is indeed not thriving. They may look like they're thriving on the outside, but also just because they're like haughty little bitches. Haughty, Haughty, not Hottie, okay? Just like snobby little bitches who act really cool and brag about whatever on Instagram. They're not, okay? Trust me, I am the career coach. People come to me all day. Everybody's miserable, okay? You're not you're not alone. And I'm over here unemployed, fired, and feel like an incompetent child for now. This is just a moment in your life. This doesn't define you. This shame does not belong to you. This situation, this same situation, by the way, I want you to think about the things you have in common with people. Meaning, wow, other people who were abused by this company, other people who were wrongfully terminated by this company. Like, you probably have more in common with people than you think, right? Okay. Any words of wisdom? Okay, thank you. All right, then I always love to ask in the end, I'm like, what options do you have? One, so this is what Christy says. Her three options. One, apply to the same jobs I'm qualified for on paper, but don't feel competent for or passionate about. Okay, don't do that, because this was the problem to begin with, is you didn't, first off, competence, move that to the side, because you can always grow into the role, and part of it is your attitude and how you learn, so we're not going to worry about that. But passion, I do feel like is important for you. You've mentioned multiple times that you just were not into this industry or role to begin with. So like, don't go down that path. It's going to lead you the same place. 2, take any job out of desperation and risk. Nope. I can't even finish reading it. And risk having a lower salary or bad boss again, setting myself back even more at life at 34 when I already feel behind. You're not behind. Everybody has their own path. And if you think about this in the context of the path of the wounded healer, the thing that wounds you the most will be your greatest teacher, and you will be able to help heal others. And also you'll be able to help heal your future self. So your future self now knows to look out for this kind of drama. All right. So what I want you to do is think about the little red flags that you had, ding, 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 like during the interview process. And as you actually start to move forward, you're just going to avoid those things. And you're going to check in with yourself twice as often as you think you should during the application and interview process, because we know that you're a little bit tender right now. Okay. Option 3, join the circus or something. Sigh. This option 3 is probably the best idea. I am sensing that there's something way more creative and interesting that you want to do, and I would fully encourage you to seek that out. As I reflect, this question in essence is not about how do I apply for more jobs or how do I interview. It is not that. Okay, there's 2 themes that I think are really relevant in the framing of this question. And the first is around exile, and the second is around ego death. Okay? So spiritually, I think this is what's happening. All right, I'm going to read you an excerpt from this book, Women Who Run with the Wolves. In my edition, this is page 198. This is a section on finding one's pack, belonging as blessing. And I'm going to read you a paragraph on exile as boon, because I think what has happened to you and why you feel quite so incredibly untethered and shame is because you are undergoing an exile moment. But exile always ends in a homecoming. And so it's going to be a coming home to yourself and what you really want to do. Okay? So, exile is boon. If you have attempted to fit whatever mold and failed to do so, you are probably lucky. You may be an exile of some sort, but you have sheltered your soul. There is an odd phenomenon that occurs when one keeps trying to fit and fails. Even though the outcast is driven away, she is at the same time driven right into the arms of her psychic and true kin, whether these be a course of study, an art form, or a group of people. It is worse to stay where one does not belong at all than to wander about lost for a while. That's what this 5 months was, Christy, okay? And looking for the psychic and soulful kinship one requires. It is never a mistake to search for what one requires. Never. Oh, I just got the chills. There is something useful in all of this torque and tension. Something in the duckling is being tempered, being made strong by this exile. While the situation is not one we would wish on anyone for any reason, its effect is similar to pure natural carbon under pressure producing diamonds. It leads eventually to a profound magnitude and clarity of psyche. Psyche! There is an aspect of alchemy wherein the base substance of lead is pounded about and beaten down. I wrote down, in your first paragraph, I wrote beaten down. That's exactly right. While exile is not a thing to desire for the fun of it, there is an unexpected gain from it. The gifts of exile are many. It takes out weakness by the pounding. It removes whininess, enables acute insight, heightens intuition, grants the power of keen observation and perspective that the insider can never achieve. Yep, exactly. Even though there are negative aspects to it, the wild psyche can endure exile. It makes us yearn that much more to free our own true nature and causes us long for a culture to match. Even this yearning, this longing makes a person go on. It makes a woman go on looking. And if she cannot find the culture that encourages her, then she usually decides to construct it herself. That's right. And that is good, for if she builds it, others who have been looking for a long time will mysteriously arrive one day, enthusiastically proclaiming that they have been looking for this all along. Yes. And the second part is this. There are parts of you that have to die in order for the new version of you to have space to live. Okay? So I want you to almost do a ritual of sorts to commemorate the end of this era for yourself. And this can be something like saying aloud to yourself, that era is done. Okay? You could even have a mantra for yourself that you repeat over and over, saying things like, I'm turning over a new leaf. I'm entering a new chapter. As of October 15th, 2024, that part of me is done. This could actually be a pretty good journaling exercise for you to be like, what are the parts of myself that I'm ready to leave behind? And what are the parts that I'm going to embrace moving forward? Okay? And I don't say this in like a pressury way, like, okay, you have to change all your habits as of now. But I think that giving yourself some grace and giving yourself some permission to move on from what was truly a really bad situation and deciding for yourself that doesn't, I don't have to take that with me. And that it's not your fault and that you did everything you possibly could to be strong and to be good during that situation. And that, to be honest, this length of time, this 5 months that you've been, as you describe, not out there looking, I think if anything, that is a reflection of how deep the wound was and that it just simply required that much time. In some ways, I'm relieved for you that you didn't do anything, because I see this all day long where people will jump into the next situation and then they just have to spend 6 months unraveling themselves from that mess. I think that you need to be your own hype woman. I think that you need to hype yourself up. I think that you need to remind yourself of what you wanted to do before you took this job and what were the reasons that you took this job. And I think my kind of final takeaway here is like, what is the purpose of this pain? The purpose of this pain is so acute, is so deep, is so traumatizing, to be honest, that you're not going to forget it easily. Okay? Probably 1 month from now, probably 3 months from now, it's going to hurt less, but you're still going to be a little bit sore from it. Okay? But it's there as a reminder. It's there as a reminder not to take shit from people. It's there as a reminder that you can get through difficult things. Maybe it was the wake-up call that you needed to be like, actually, I really, really don't want to be in this industry. And there's a reason for that. It attracts pretty toxic people and there aren't enough checks and balances. And I want to go somewhere where the people are nicer. But I think it's for you to assign a meaning to that story. It's for you to give the story some purpose. So that would be my kind of takeaway or homework for you, would just to say, all right, you survived this thing. You're doing okay. What's the story that you're going to tell yourself? Because I don't want the story to be, gosh, not only did I get myself into this situation, but then I got freaking fired and now I'm useless. And now I'm a loser because I couldn't get it together to apply to jobs. That's not the story. The story is probably something closer to, I am a big-hearted person that tried my damnedest to make it work. I got caught flat-footed. It knocked me over. I was not ready for that. It took me a minute because I care and because I'm scared of making the same mistakes. Terrified even to the point where I am paralyzed. But it's also given me time to reflect, to heal, to create space, to let some beautiful things into my life moving forward, I know what shit tastes like and I don't want to eat that again. So I'm going to be doubly careful. I'm going to be doubly vigilant about making sure that I don't get myself into that kind of situation again. And ultimately, because I believe I'm a good-hearted person with good intentions. And this was a setback, but that I can get back up. And so what? So what if I don't recover perfectly? So what if I don't bounce back and then get back on the freaking corporate treadmill like everybody wants me to? That's okay. I learned. I'm human, right? I'd rather have that be the story for you. We're always in the process of telling ourselves stories. And you are such a gifted storyteller. I was laughing so hard and felt so much. And we haven't even met. And just like reading this, the way you wrote it, like you're a storyteller. And what I would say to you is retell the story. Reclaim that narrative. You just have to tell it again. Just keep telling it again to yourself until it sounds properly empowered, that it sounds like you in your sovereignty, like you in your power. Fuck those people, man. All right. Thank you everyone for listening and watching. It's such a privilege to be able to even be trusted with these kinds of questions. You guys are stronger than you know, and hope you all have a wonderful week. Okay, bye.